Hi everybody, my name is Scott Fisher,
And I'm Teresa Fisher.
and this is our behind the scenes of the Cosi FanTutte poster. We're working on dura-lar, which is a translucent material that you can paint on both the front and the back. And currently, I've got a awesome Rosemary Rigger 273 brush dipped in FW ink, and I am rocking the border. Now, this is actually based on the original 1700s Mozart poster, which was at the beginning of this video. And I did a reinterpretation of it. I'm actually inking it for the second time here, as I wanted to do a trial run on a separate sheet of paper to make sure I got the kinks worked out.
Yeah, this was a tedious ink job for you.
This was unbelievably tedious. This actually might be the most labor-intensive part of the entire painting. I think I have 2 days into this border. Yeah, it took a long time. And it's funny because, of course, we're doing high-speed video here, so you have no idea. It's funny, Teresa, everybody thinks that I ink so fast, and I know they know this is high speed, but I don't think they know how slow it really is if you're watching it in person. That quill is moving so slow. By the way, you can see I switched. I'm actually using a Nico nib pen at this point, and I'm still dipping it into the sepia FW ink.
But you know what? At least he has some awesome stuff to ink. Look at that. Was that an eagle?
Yeah, it's like
the cherubs and
it's
the
like
masks.
a two-headed
how cool is that?
eagle, right? It's funny because the original was so degraded and distorted that I had to sort of invent all of this stuff, but I could see where things were.
The roses.
I cheated a little bit in that I used the same cherub on the left and the right, and in the original poster you'll have noticed that there's actually two different cherubs, but I wanted the symmetry of this. So, and of course, all of this interest and all of this work in this, but you don't want this border to distract from what's going to come next, which will be, the main painting.
Well, explain to them what's underneath the dura-lar, because you can see the ghost image.
Yeah, that's a printed out digital underpainting study. So I scanned in the first version of it I did of that of the border, and you can see the Xerox of it there, looking shabby. Anyway, and that's underneath the dura-lar. So this is my rough drawing. So essentially what you're seeing underneath there is the rough design that Teresa and I put together, and it's the value study, and everything else is underneath on a separate sheet of paper. So essentially everything is getting done for a second time now.
But in traditional media.
In traditional media, that's correct. Finally, we're done with that border. Wow. I went with lavender here. I don't even know why. I just was like, lavender rules. So, it does rule.
Yeah, but the powder wigs, the lavender line work for like a lighter colored wig.
Yeah, agreed. It kind of has a nice vibe to it, and I thought it would work. I actually hadn't planned this out in the color study, but I just decided to do it here. Anyway, I was very happy to be working on the wigs now and working through the piece.
Plus, you were probably so tired of looking at sepia ink, you needed a color.
I had drawn that border so many times. At that point, it was like, please give me a break. Yeah, so everybody asked me, do I smudge the ink? Every once in a while, I do smudge the ink. I had to come up at one time with Teresa after that border. I was like, Teresa, I kind of smudged the border in a spot. Don't kill me. We could either start over or... or we can go with it.
No, I couldn't see him redoing that border again. So there's some stains on it, which later gets covered up by paint. But so you'll see some like ochre-looking smudges as it pans out.
That's right.
They're right there underneath Scott's hand. You can see.
Yeah, you can see one right, definitely just right under my hand.
Yeah, we'll work with it, baby.
Exactly. It's a happy accident, people. Right there, it is. You can really see it there.
Well, needless to say, I made sure I moved bottles and make sure he wasn't like cleaning his brushes too close to the original there after that.
Yeah, she took care of me. In the background, we're actually listening to the actual opera. Oh my.
Sounds like they're having an argument.
Sounds like they are having an argument. However, we did not argue. Now we're working on the figure's hands. I really enjoy this part of the process. Like I said, there's an underdrawing underneath there, so I'm drawing it for the second time now. But it's not verbatim. I leave some room to move lines and change things to help the flow and so forth and so on. So I think of what's underneath there as sort of a map, directional landmarking map. Some things get made up on the fly, like that extra border on the cuff there, the lower cuff. The upper one, that was just made up on the fly. I needed something fancier than I had there in my underdrawing. And really, if you guys notice, what I'm doing here with this brush is I'm pulling my lines directionally to help dictate form, right? That's the idea. You want to pull the lines in a way that actually builds structure into your drawing.
It's very much like line work and etchings.
Very much so, and I've been heavily influenced by etching plates and stuff. I mean, obviously, I've been painting on copper lately, but even in this instance, it's the same sort of thing. You can see, I mean, I'm sort of inventing some stuff. Yeah, the eyeshadow on the eyes. I want them to be a little like, I don't know, more eyeshadowy, I guess. All right, Teresa's taking over. Time for Teresa to start rocking it. So she is inking the ring.
So I'm again following what Scott has underneath in our digital mock-up.
No, but you actually drew that ring. She
did.
She did an underdrawing for that ring in pencil, and that's what you see there. I imported it into the mock-up. But so she's now drawing this ring for the second time, and of course, by the time she paints it, it'll be for the third time that she'll be working on these things.
So I'm inking the stone in the top part around the stone in the gray, because that'll be silver, and of course the diamond, versus the ochre color, which will be the gold of the ring.
Right. Now you're doing a little wash stuff. This is not Teresa's native medium. Certainly not FW ink on dura-lar. I don't know that she's ever worked on dura-lar.
No, this is my first time working on dura-lar. No, I did do a preliminary study, a graphite drawing, just to kind of get a feel of it, of a female head with that hairdo that you see there in the piece. I had a lot more fun here working on the dress than I did the ring. To be honest, but I loved all that embroidery on the front of the bodice of the dress.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
If you actually look under Teresa's hand there, you saw it a second ago. That was actually the design we came up with for the cuff. I just drew it quickly in Sharpie just to get an idea of what it might do, and then just kind of free-handed it on the actual piece. Yes, I was very thrilled that Teresa wanted to handle the dress and the ring and the tedium of the dress. But she enjoys that kind of thing.
I enjoy it, and I really enjoyed doing the line work on that dress. And the lines, mimicking the lines of the embroidery. I don't know, maybe I'll explore that a little bit more in future work.
Yeah, maybe we have converted her. For those who don't know Teresa's work, she's a traditional oil painter, usually working on panel or linen or fancy things like that. So this is definitely not her native work.
Dura-lar is pretty exotic.
It is pretty exotic for you, yeah. A little stranger in a strange land.
So that you see, I'm using some lighter color and darker color inks to, show the creases and the highlights of the embroidery and the satin.
Yeah. We generally, for most of this stuff, we mixed up a couple of values of the ink that we were using. Well, actually, I can't say that. I think only the blue we've done that. I think the hands. Oh, look, we turned the light box on so you can really see.
Yeah, because I couldn't see the satin details underneath the dura-lar because of it's so light.
Yes, so we got a giant 24-inch light table that we're able to switch on at any moment to see things clear. You'll also notice that we're sliding another piece of dura-lar in between it to make it cloudier. We slide it in and out, because sometimes the dura-lar is so transparent that it's distracting to see what's underneath there, and you don't want to see it, so you shove something else in there. Oh, here's the fun part. This is actually the first time that we're working on it at the same moment. So I'm on one side of the painting, Teresa's on the other side of the painting.
Now this is the back of the piece.
That's right. That's important to say.
Yeah, because it looks kind of alarming because you feel like we're covering up the front inking, but this is on the back. So the hope is the color is going to show through the translucent dura-lar and tint everything.
Yeah, that's exactly how this works. So it's like being a glass painter, an old school animation cell painter. We're basically doing the blocking of our middle values on the back side of the dura-lar. And when we flip it, even though you'll see the drawing is preserved on the other side.
Now, as when we're working on this part of the piece, I realized working with Scott that when he does his brush strokes, he does them sort of aggressively. So our tabletop would shake a little bit. So this was actually good for me to realize when we were painting on the front that I would have to be really careful with him. If I'm doing detail work and he's working on some other part, that I'll have to wait or have him wait until I get done with certain sections.
Yeah, and you can see that we're using at least 2 values on a lot of these areas to do sort of almost a crude rendering. On that hand, you can definitely see it, a crude rendering going on there.
And then we would put darker on top of the lighter to kind of make it more solid from when you flip it.
Exactly, yeah. Yep. Yes, and I would shake this quite a bit, poor Teresa.
I'm sorry. I can see it in the camera how it's wiggling a little bit. That's him moving the tabletop.
Hey man, dura-lar is a party on the back and business on the front. It's like a mullet.
That's what I
always say. So we're having a party back there for sure.
It was pretty freeing, actually.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about it is you can go nuts on the back of dura-lar and enjoy the heck out of it and not worry about it so much.
Well, it was fun for me for never have worked on it like this is really when we did the 3 different shades and tones that it really did make a difference when you flipped it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Oh, look at that. There's the party. We spattered on that thing, got the hairdryer out. Ah, now this is fun. This one confused a lot of people. Why am I doing blue? Why are we doing blue on it? There's 2 reasons for this. One reason is it creates a mask so that when I paint her skin on the back, it won't bleed through the red. The red is very transparent. So here we go. I'm going to sponge on the red with oil paint, or the flesh tone with oil paint, I'm sorry. And you can see that it's not going to go over where the blue is. The other reason is paint is transparent. So that blue is actually going to peek through the red in spots, peek through the yellow in spots, and it homogenizes the whole painting when viewed from the front, which you're going to see in just a moment. Here's the flip. Ta-da! That is the finished middle value underpainting on the back. Teresa's turn to start really rocking the oil paint. Now we're going oil on the front.
So I'm starting to build up the ring, get its different values in there.
We're using.
And then I'm working on the dress.
We're using Gamblin Fast Matte oil paint. It looks like I'm joining her there because she's holding 2 brushes, but
no,
I'm actually not in. I'm not in here.
Yeah, I've got 2 brushes in one hand and one in the other. I had 3 brushes going.
So the second piece we've done together, and I got to tell you, it was rather liberating to have Teresa do so much groundwork and lay in all of this, and then I just get to come in a second with her, and we just have fun and party on top of it. It was pretty neat.
No, what was fun with the ink underneath is the oil is thin enough that it's still peeking through.
That's right.
The detail work on the satin of the dress, those lighter marks are showing through the oil. I'll go on top of it with some lighter oil here in a little bit with a fine brush. But that was kind of fun for me.
And this is part 2 of our tandem painting. So here we are rocking the same surface at the same time together.
Just punching out the darks.
Exactly. This is like the accent. Yeah, this is the accent part. It's like a drummer. Finding those like accent marks and of light and dark, those sweet little nooks and crannies, to really push the values around.
Start working on the hair was awfully fun.
The hair was fun, and we did a fun thing with it where I actually used a sponge first on the hair, and that made almost like a gradient. Now I'm painting the flesh, so basically this is my going darker stage. So I picked a sort of a middle value, and I started working her skin darker, and it's mostly almost glazes of oil paint going on here. Still the Fast Matte, Gamblin Fast Matte oil paint, if I hadn't mentioned that before. Building up the highlights. And that's kind of the idea. You establish your middle values you establish the drawing on the front, you establish your middle values on the back, and then when you flip it back over, you go a step darker and a step lighter, and then you find a lot of in-between stuff. Those are some of the tiny little extra details. Working the lips a little bit. Could we actually have her singing right now, probably, in the opera in the background. And we're just moving that brush around again, picking those accent areas. I'm pulling the strokes directionally, like we were talking about with the line work earlier. I do the same thing. It doesn't matter how big the brush is. I try to use the form of the skull underneath the face to develop volume, as opposed to just like filling in patches of light, which I call it sometimes, what people will do. I'm actually trying to paint volume and form. Now we're filling in behind the head with a darker black, because we really want that to be the strongest point of contrast. And you can't help but move that around. The painting starts talking to you at some point. You put something dark on and it says, hey, do it over here, do it over here, and you wind up having to just kind of rock it around the piece. I thought I was done, and Teresa's like, no, those cuffs need to go darker.
Yeah, they weren't standing out enough. They needed it.
She was right. So we had to go darker on these cuffs here. I did it straight into oil paint. And the other thing is...
Inside the cuffs.
Inside the cuffs, we're going to go a step darker. Right. And this was actually done in oil paint, so not FW ink at this point. I pulled some thin lines. Actually, it looks like I'm accenting the head right there. So I pulled some thin lines and... inked it actually in oil. So it's the same thing I did in FW ink. I was just doing it in oil paint. I'd actually like to try to ink a piece in oil paint.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun to work on with you, Scott.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Cosi FanTutte via Teresa and Scott. High five. Have I not done this yet? Looks like we're not over.
Oh, there's you doing the lines.
All right, there's the lines inside the cuffs. Sorry, guys, we weren't done yet.
Well, this is the encore.
Oh, that's right. This is the encore.
Oh, and the blue in the hair. Yes,
and the blue in the hair. That's right.
Encore.
We glazed the blue in the hair. We did that as well. And we signed the piece. That was our double
There
signature.
you go.
And now we are really officially done. Go figure. Later.
Later.